everybody. New podcast out. I'm excited to share with you the story of Chris Masters, which is currently evolving. Chris shares his story from being a paperboy when he was growing up to the influence his dad had and realizing his dream of playing hockey at Boston College down the road. But then the decision came after that of playing some pro hockey or maybe going to Wall Street. And Chris took a different path with his brother. They've really grown a big club hockey organization here, the Junior Bruins. But after that, Chris wasn't just content with that. He saw more. He really saw the need for developing student athletes, and particularly athletes that wanted to get focused in a particular area. So he tells us his journey, which has taken close to 6-7 years now, of opening Masters Academy, which will open this September in the greater Boston area. It's a fascinating story. I think what really sticks out for me is the self-awareness Chris has of what he's good at, him and his brother, but also the advice that they got from their late father throughout their journey and growing up. That's clearly been instilled with him throughout his journey. So it's a fun listen. Hope you enjoy it. Chris is an inspiring guy, and let us know what you think. Mr. Chris Masters, thanks for coming on Beers and Careers, my man.
Happy to be here.
I just learned so much about you. I wanted to have you on. We've known each other now for about 5 or 6 years maybe, but I wanted to have you on because I think it's really cool that you got the hockey thing going locally, and then the timing of this is interesting with Masters Academy, and then I just learned you're a golf course panelist.
That's
Golf
right.
Digest panelist.
Golf Digest panelist.
And school committee member.
School committee member in Hopkinton. Got the most votes in the election. It was my first time running for public office. I think when you get the most votes, that's good, so no big deal.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah,
Saving
no
the
big deal.
children.
That's it.
That's it. But before we dive into your story, a couple quick questions, rapid-fire questions to let the guests know you. What was your first job?
Paperboy.
You were? Cool.
Paperboy I had the Boston Herald and the Globe. My brother was as well, and if you came out of our house in Lexington on Sanderson Road, I went left on my bike and went all the way to Emerson Gardens Apartments, which was great because they're apartments. And
Fire
and just
away.
do a ton of them. And my brother would go out of our driveway and he'd go right, and he was 2 years older, so he took the more dangerous street. He went down to Lowell Street, which is a real busy street in Lexington. So we were both paper boys. It was a great job. Learned a ton because I was responsible for billing as 10, 11-year-old. So I had envelopes, and I would put them in the doors or inside the papers, and I'd have to collect if people didn't pay. Now, normally they just, you give them the envelope, they put the money in it, and it's there the next day, and I'd scoop it up and
pretty cool
make the money. And it was great.
How old are you when you're doing this?
I was like 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
Did it for probably maybe 9, 10, 11. Did it for 3 or 4 years. Now on Sundays, because I must have had 100 plus customers. Those Sunday papers,
everything.
Kids today don't recognize. They were huge. So my mom would open the trunk of our car, and I would just sit in the back of the station wagon, and we would just go down and because those Sunday papers were too big to put in those I had the baskets.
Yep.
But it was a great job. Made a ton of money. I thought I was making a ton of money.
Yeah.
And we would go to Ocean City, New Jersey every year on vacation. And I would spend every nickel I made at Sims Arcade on 9th Street and the Boardwalk.
That's
just
awesome.
at Galaga and Tempest.
Yep.
And it was great having money. I had to give, and so I also learned a lot of good lessons. Money management. I had to give 10% to the church every Sunday. I had to put money away. My mom got my brother and I checking accounts when we were that same age because we had to deposit it. We had to go bring it into the bank, and so it's a lot of good life lessons. Yeah, a lot of good life lessons. Yeah, first job.
Do you have a favorite? You don't have a favorite cocktail, but a favorite drink?
Yeah, no, I don't drink. I guess if I could have any drink, it'd be a vanilla milkshake.
Oh, all right. Can I ask you a wild question then?
Yes.
Because I know you have a love for the Waffle House.
Yeah, Waffle House,
I have a weird love of McDonald's milkshakes.
Oh, it's a pretty good milkshake.
Okay, I was nervous to ask you.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty good milkshake. Part of that's because of the straw. They have a great straw at McDonald's.
Gauge. Yep. Good gauge.
Really,
on that straw.
there's enough that comes through so you can really enjoy it. Johnny Rockets has a great milkshake. I don't know if you ever had a Johnny Rockets. But I don't mind a McDonald's milkshake. Well, as long as it's because they went back to real
ice cream. I think Cabot's in Newton has a good milkshake.
I don't think I've ever had.
Oh,
Cabot's.
I didn't know because you.
I also gave up sugar.
Yeah, you did.
So I don't have milkshakes. But if
you were, that's your favorite drink.
Yeah, if I had,
that's wild. I was afraid to ask you the McDonald's question after you told me that cannolis aren't that good. That was a.
They're fine.
I was laying in bed that night being like, I can't believe Masters told me cannolis.
Yeah, for everyone that obviously doesn't know, Mark and I know each other from the golf course, and we got into a discussion about my feeling is that America is the world champion of desserts. Like, I was just in Austin, Texas. Unbelievable food.
Yeah.
Tons of Tex-Mex. And I love Mexican food. I love Chinese food. But their desserts are not great.
They are pretty weak.
They're not great. And then you and some of our, I'm half Italian, some of our Italian friends were saying how great Italian desserts are. And they are good.
They are good.
But the cannoli, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. You made the argument that a tiramisu is a much more...
I mean, it's fine.
It's fine.
A brownie sundae...
I get it.
destroys a cannoli or a tiramisu. Or one of those cookies that they bake in a little skillet with ice cream on it.
Yes.
I mean...
we're going to agree to disagree. That's fine. That's fine.
It's okay. I'm right. You're wrong. But that's fine.
Exactly. Do you have a favorite curse word?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I can say that.
You can say whatever you want, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Does it start with F?
No.
Okay. All right. Even better.
Yeah.
How about, are you into quotes at all? Are you like a quote guy? Like some people, I ask that question, some people go, no, not at all. And like I am. Like I remember in high school, I was a really, really tiny high schooler. I was like 4'11" as a freshman. And that Archie Griffith quote of it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog was something I like constantly thought about playing sports.
Yeah. I'm not as high level as you. Okay. My quotes are more for movies or TV shows.
Oh, those count too.
Yeah.
You had an extra pair of gloves this entire time?
Yeah. We're really doing it, huh, Har?
Yeah.
No, so I coach our brick team every spring. And I will, before each practice or home game, and basically anytime we're at our rink in Marlboro, I have, 80 to 100 quotes. I had one of our graphic designers, kind of dress up nicely, and I print them out, give them to each kid. We post them on the wall, and usually it's tied to the theme of that practice. Most of them are around teamwork, hard work, whatever the theme is that day, or something that I think can help reinforce, like, hey, don't blame anyone else. Take responsibility. We're here as a team. So if I look through some of those, there's some that I use every year because I think they're really impactful. And actually this year, I had a few parents, take pictures. They have them at their house, and I give them to the kids. Hey, bring them home. Yeah. I would like you to read them every night. And again, just kind of reinforcing that over the course of our 2 or 3 month season. And I had some parents, it's on a wall at their house. Yeah. Another one, he keeps it right next to his bed, and they go over at night. They talked about it on the car ride home, and why do you think Coach had that one? So
that's cool.
So that I'm into quotes.
So you are a quote guy.
Yeah.
You're a big quote guy.
Yeah, big quote. Yeah, I guess I am.
Big quote guy.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get a copy of that.
Yeah.
Favorite book?
Oh, boy. Jeez.
Or book that you just love. Doesn't have to be your favorite.
Yeah.
That's a hard question.
Yeah, I guess favorite book. Jeez. I've read it a few times, and I like reading it. Catcher in the Rye, but I don't know if it's my favorite book.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I think it's funny.
Yeah. All right.
I remember I read Where the Red Fern Grows when I was a kid, and I remember crying my eyes out at that. So that left an impression. Books I say my favorite books I read now. Maybe not a singular book, but the ones that I don't read them anymore. I listen to them, walking the dog or in the car. are world history, U.S. history, and biographies about successful people.
Yes.
I listened to Phil Knight's recently. I think it was called Sneakerhead or something like that.
Someone just told me to, and I bought it. I haven't read it yet, but apparently the Rockefeller.
I like
reading.
I like reading those. I also like the ones where they might have 15 people and they're a chapter each.
Yeah.
I don't know that I need a 30-hour book on Rockefeller to go that deep.
I haven't done it either. I'm listening to a podcast that just went through Rockefeller, and one of the things that came out of it from a current event, not from this podcast, was I guess Rockefeller wrote letters to his son that have like all of his timeless lessons. So that's in my Amazon shopping cart.
Those to me are super interesting. That's cool. I know we'll talk about it at some point with Masters Academy, but a lot of these books you read or these stories you hear, Jeff Bezos asked hundreds of people for investments and everyone just kept saying no, and that's the experience we had, and you just keep going. And then hopefully someone says yes, and will invest and partner with you.
Resilience.
Resilience. And just, one of my dad's passed, but one of the many lessons he kind of taught us, and now that, as you get older, there's some wisdom, and you look back at some of the stuff that your parents or mentors may have told you. One of the things I remember my dad saying, he was a great salesman. Great salesman. And he said, selling starts when the customer says no. And I don't know if that was his or not, but I just remember him saying that to us a lot. And you a lot of times talk people into buying what you're selling. And it may be our hockey program, it may be our school, whatever it is. It might be just selling ourselves. And, it really translates across business. And it's like, someone who just comes onto a car line, like, I'm here to buy a car. Well, you don't really have to sell that guy. Like, they're coming to buy a car, and maybe they're just kicking their tires, and you do have to sell them, or you have to sell them on, hey, buy a Ford, versus Saturn or whatever it is. But a lot of times, and we saw this with Masters Academy, like a lot of people told us no, and even those that want to invest with you will push back, and you just got to keep convincing them. And so a lot of those, I like hearing about those stories. Like, again, the Phil Knight one is kind of top of mind because that one's one of the ones I read recently. And again, you think like, oh, Phil Knight, Nike, so successful. I'm sure it just happened, no problem. I mean, he almost went bankrupt a million times and just fighting and credit lines and going broke. And that's why I don't begrudge a guy like Phil Knight and for how much money he has, because the risk he took, the hard work, and he's the one that risked everything. Like, he risked it, so he should get the payoff.
Yes.
And he's also, again, he's also done a ton of good with all that money he's made. But I just look at it, and you recognize how hard it is as an entrepreneur to, like, you risk everything. And if Nike didn't work, no one was going to be there like, oh, hey, we're going to give you all that money and all the sweat equity. Someone will pay you for that.
Right.
You just would have been out.
Right. That is true.
I like those stories.
Have you learned or heard the history of the Brooklyn Bridge? Have you done that?
The guy who wrote that book on that, David, he's I don't know. I'm not going to remember his name. Started that book. He's
So I haven't read the book, but on this I'll just tell people history that doesn't suck. It's a podcast that I'm probably like 120 hours into over the last 2.5 years. But they do like 2 episodes on the Brooklyn Bridge. And it's 3 generations of a family that visualize it and make it happen. And when you like hear the story of what they went through to build the bridge, a bridge that like we've both been over, you go, holy shit, this was not like city approved funding and go build the bridge in 2025. It was like people died.
Yeah, people. And there's millions of stories like that.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of the appreciations I have for small business owners, and then small business owners who become big business owners.
Yeah.
And like Jeff Bezos, like, you look what the guy started with.
Right.
And another good one is the Starbucks guy, Howard.
Yeah, Schultz.
Schultz.
Yeah.
you know,
he came from nothing.
His story,
Came from nothing.
and I think the famous story is basically what kind of kept the dream alive was Bill Gates' dad, who was maybe a judge or a businessman in Seattle, and got some funding, and that kept the dream alive. And now look what Starbucks has become, and the thousands, tens of thousands it employs, and the revenue it creates, and the taxes it creates, and the money it creates, and you know, the night's sleep lost, and again, it's something that my brother and I have just went through. It just I love those stories. So again, kind of get back to like those types of stories and books, and then kind of world and U.S. history.
And so one of the reasons I started this podcast was when I was selling all the time. I was meeting people, mainly I'd say in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. I would say that's the demo I was selling to for the most part. VPs of ops, engineering, manufacturing. And I was meeting them, and they loved what they did. And like you were one of these guys when I met at the golf club, I was like, this guy like genuinely enjoys getting up every day and going to work. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so, but I also found that when you met those people, they had no idea when they were in high school or college that this was going to be their path. Right. They had no freaking clue. I grew up with a father who was an engineer, and every time I got home from college, he was like, what are you going to be when you grow up? Right. And I had a mom that was like, shut up, leave him alone. Yeah. And it was a great, honestly, it was a great way to grow up. But I want to start the podcast to be like, look at these people, regardless of how successful they are. I'm talking about the Bezos of the world's success. But they leveraged skill sets from parts of their life, and they built upon them. Yep. And they were aware. They had that self-awareness of them. So like, let's start with like, you get out of BC, you college hockey at BC, which I'm sure it's funny because getting to know you, like that's an important part of your life, but like it's certainly not the thing you're the most proud of. Yeah. Like, which is funny because there's a ton of people that when they were 16 or 17 years old, that's all that would have mattered in life. Yeah, so I was born in L.A., moved to Lexington. I didn't know that. Yeah, moved to Lexington, Massachusetts when I was little. Yep. And hockey right away. My dad, so the name I was born with is Mastrocola. Yep. My brother Peter, myself, and my sister Christine, all Mastrocolas. My dad changed our name. So my sister was born in 1977. My youngest sister, Katie, on her birth certificate, it's a master's. So I think she was 80. So your birth certificate is Mastrocola? Birth certificate is Mastrocola. Okay. My mom's from Philly. My dad grew up in Dorchester and Everett, and a big Italian family. So I grew up on the Italian side of my family. My mom... again, from Philly, smaller families. But I spent all my time kind of with the Italian side of my dad's family. And, my grandfather came to the country when he was very little. And it was, hey, you work. Yeah. That's what you do. Yeah. And was not an emphasis on sports. My dad really saw the value in sports, loved sports, got us into sports when we were very young. Odd that he chose hockey. Yeah. He wasn't really... What an idiot. Wasn't really in his background. Right. So played hockey growing up, played baseball, and focused on hockey. And I wanted to play in the NHL. That was my dream. My dream was really to play hockey at BC. That was kind of like my dream school growing up. And then to play in the NHL. And got to BC, incredible time of my life. Played a year in the minors, recognized I was not good enough to make it. And then pivoted out of that. So, but that's what I want to hear about. Like, okay, how did the Junior Bruins start? So, Junior Bruins started, really, the genesis was my dad. They had been around for about a year. He took it over and really kept it alive for 4 or 5 years now. So, keep in mind, so my brother graduated high school in 1991. We both went to Matanon, which is a Catholic school in Cambridge, just closed a couple of years ago. But, kind of big hockey school, great high school. I had a blast in high school. And my brother needed at least a postgraduate year between high school and trying to play college hockey somewhere. He was going to go to the Lawrenceville School, went to the Chicago Showcase in Chicago. This guy named Carrie Eads grabbed my parents and my brother, talked to him about junior hockey. This is early 90s. In the East, almost no one knew about junior hockey. And I give my dad, again, a ton of credit. Within a 30-minute meeting at a hotel in Chicago,
He said, hey, junior hockey, 65, 70 games. This is the percentage of players playing college hockey that come from junior hockey. You're a good player. You know, prep school is, you know, Lawrenceville, it's a 25, 30 game season. It's a 3-month season, blah, blah, blah. And so my brother was going to Lawrenceville. Like, that was decided.
Lawrence Academy?
No, Lawrenceville down in New Jersey.
Oh, I don't know that. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Lawrenceville in New Jersey. And in 30 minutes, Mike walked out and he's like, all right, well, you're not going to Lawrenceville. You're going to go play juniors.
Wow.
And it changed his life.
Wow.
And again, it was that, you know, 7th-month season and the 70 games and the development and the kids you're playing against and the level of coaching and all that stuff. So my dad really saw and then he saw over the next 2 years, my brother played there. He had offers, you know, go anywhere he wanted, chose BC, and then I went and did 2 years of juniors as well in Dubuque as well. And my dad saw how it changed our lives, and he said, all right, well, he loved hockey.
Yeah.
And he had his own computer business. And not that he was transitioning out of that, but he said, all right, I love hockey. My kids are now at that age where who knows how much longer they're going to play. And let me do this junior hockey thing. And this guy named Gary Deneen, who was in the Springfield Picks, was really only junior team kind of in New England. And then my dad, you know, kind of really helped push that forward. Now there's tons of them. And it's grown to what it is today. But he saw that value. So when we were in college, or let me back up. When we were growing up, we went to a camp up in Montreal called Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And it was a week-long hockey camp, and we loved it. And then we were the kind of, they had one at I think it was at the Pingree School. And we were, as BC hockey players, they would usually have an NHL player and then some college players as kind of like the
counselors.
I don't know, the counselors or the on-ice leaders. And my brother and I kind of liked it. We kind of liked running the practices and the drills and all that. And then we said, all right, why don't we we'll do our own hockey camp as a way to make money. And we had a different idea because at the Fellowship of Christian Athletes camp, you'd have, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 good players, a bunch kind of in the middle, and then again, I don't know, a bunch that weren't very good. And
bell curve.
It was really kind of hard to put together a good practice or camp because that bell curve there was such a disparity in the talent level. So we said, let's try and do a camp we'll try and get like 25 really good players. And we called it the Future Stars Camp. And we ran it at the Stoneham Rink. We were at BC. So we got a bunch of our teammates. And this mom, Mike, oh my God, what am I, the mom's name? Daughter's Teresa. Oh my God, Mrs. Keene. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on her name now. Yeah. She helped round up like a bunch of kids.
Okay.
And it was real successful. And again, the parents loved it. It was like, hey, these are all really good players. Right. And so now we could do some high-level drills and the scrimmages and all that stuff. And we got all the BC kids there. And so it was great. And we kind of like, oh, this is kind of fun. And Peter graduated in '97, did a year in the minors, then started coaching in the Junior Bruins. My dad kind of not gave it to him, but said, why don't you kind of take the lead? I graduated from BC '99, did a year in the minors, not even a full year, about 5 months, and then I came on board, and I had kind of looked at Wall Street, and I had a bunch of friends, so all my buddies had spent kind of a year working, and a lot of them were not miserable, but they were like the hours, and they were just dying for like Friday, and then on Sunday, like, oh my God, I gotta go back to work. And now a lot of them are super successful, have big piles of money, like it all worked. But I was like, I don't know, I really like hockey. I like kind of growing a business, or maybe being my own boss and kind of that entrepreneurial side of it. I said, let me try hockey and see if it works. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, I can go sell insurance or try and do whatever. Go find another job. So it was February of 2000. I was playing in Trenton for the Trenton Titans in the East Coast League, so the AA level. And Butch Cassidy, who the Bruins coach is now the coach in Vegas, was my coach. And a few weeks early, I went in and said, I kind of knew I'm going to play this year, and then I'm done. I'm not going to play another year. And I was like, Trenton's not very warm.
No.
A bunch of buddies were down south playing in the Southern Division. They're all playing golf every day. So I'm like, I went in and I said, hey, I'd like to get traded. I don't mean to be an asshole, but like, I want to go down south somewhere and finish the season. And here's where I'll go. And if not, like, no big deal.
Yeah.
And he didn't trade me. And so it was the Bean Pot. I forget, it was the first or second Monday. We'd come back from a road trip. I'm like, this isn't working. So I just went in like, hey, thanks for the opportunity. I'm gonna go home. And he's like, oh no, we'll trade you anywhere. I'm like, nah, don't worry about it. I've kind of had enough. And so I just went home, and then started coaching. And at the time, we had a junior team, a split season midget team, full season midget team, and one tournament, the BJB shootout. And my brother was coaching the top junior team. And so I came in and I coached at the time we called it 18U AAA. It then became the Empire Junior team, but it was really kind of a midget team all along. So I started coaching that, and then we created a couple more camps, and then we started seeing a bunch of other programs who are doing these spring and summer tournament teams. And we looked and said, okay, well, we know when these kids are midget age, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, we want relationships with these kids and these families. And what's the way to do that? Well, why don't we go try and find all the best kids as 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. We'll bring them to a few tournaments. We'll establish a relationship with them. So we think it'd probably be easier to recruit them instead of me just cold calling them and saying, hey, family XYZ, I'm Chris with the Junior Bruins. We have this midget team. How'd you like to play with us? Well, now they know us. Right? It was also another way to generate revenue and keep the business alive and going and grow it. So we started doing these spring and summer tournament teams probably in 2000, would have been the summer of 2001. And that's really grown into a big part of our business. And then after doing that, we said, okay, we started doing more tournaments. We created something called the Beantown Classic, which kind of ran for 20 years. It's still going, but again, is kind of the hockey world changes constantly, everything changes. And again, kind of some really strong advice my dad gave us at one point. Said, hey, think back to the restaurants or the businesses that were on Mass Ave in Lexington Center as we're growing up, when we were kids. How many of them are still there? Right. And like, well, there's a lot of turnover. And he goes, a lot of turnover. He goes, so you always have to keep adjusting, changing, figuring out what's working, what's not working. And so we also wanted to make sure we kind of diversified and say, hey, we can't just be in the tournament business. Can't just be in the junior team business. What if that changes? So we wanted to make sure there was some diversity so that if one part of our business struggled or if the marketplace said, we don't want to do that anymore. Right. Or if we're not good at it. And one of those areas was camps. We used to have a lot of camps. But we recognized there's some camp operators, so that's all they do. And they're good at it. And so we only have a couple camps with the kind of narrow focus because we just didn't do as good a job as some of those other people who are just camp focused. And so knowing who you are. Yeah, we got to know who we are and what we do well. How big is your Junior Bruins operation today? I would say ours, it's a little bit tough kind of to say because we don't have winter teams, right? So there's programs like the Minuteman Flames or the Islanders Hockey Club who have 70, 80, 90, 130 teams. Ours is different because we just have junior teams and midget teams in what I call the hockey season is September to March, right? And then the spring and summer season, we have a much bigger program, probably about 400 kids, boys and girls, that'll play with us in the spring and summer. Wow. As young as the boys' side, this past spring we had the youngest team was 2018s up to kind of high school kids would do some teams, and then the girls start at 22 years later. So 15s was our youngest girls team this past year. So next year it'll be the 2016 girls, 2019 boys, and even our junior and midget teams have changed like that. Like we used to have 3 junior teams, a full season 18 team, a full season 16 team, and 3 split season midget teams. Now we have a full season junior, a full season 18U, and split season because it's just changed. There's more teams. There are more academies. So the player pool, which has continued to grow, more kids are playing hockey. And you look at USA Hockey numbers, mass hockey registration,
it's
boys, girls.
Well.
It's growing, but you just have more opportunities. Yes. And so again, we've shifted our business a little bit and said, okay, that's really not working. And that's even going back 8 years ago when kind of we first had the vision of opening up an academy.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was hoping you were going to go. Like what precipitated that?
Yeah, so call it 2002 until 2015.
And you're going to have to tell people what Masters Academy is.
Yeah. So I'll get to that kind of in a second as we lead up to that. Again, I personally saw the value in full season hockey development.
Yeah.
September to March, right?
Like your father did in Chicago.
Like my father did in Chicago, and you recognize that. So the traditional high school season, or prep school, which I did, like in high school at Matignon, it's a 3-month season. We had 24 games, and then playoffs, state playoffs. And in the fall, there was almost no hockey at that time.
Yeah.
We played in we called it the Bill Ricka League on Sunday nights. And Bill Ricka, we played with this guy. We called him Unky. He was like not a coach with Matignon, but he ran like this fall team. And it was once a week, and maybe you picked up another skate. And for 4 years, I didn't really get a ton of ice time or development. Now, prior to that, up until my 8th grade year, where I played with the South Shore Kings, the Minuteman Flames. I would also play for Lexington and Bedford. I was playing 3 and 4 games a weekend. We had a rink in our backyard. I was skating 7 or 8 times a week. Right. And then you get to these critical stages of development. Call it high school years, right? 14 to 18.
When the testosterone is flowing.
It's flowing.
Yeah.
And we way scale back the ice time. And so I look now again.
So you saw that as a gap.
I saw this huge gap. So so now there's junior hockey and an extension of that full season midget hockey. We were kind of one of the first ones in this area to offer full season midget. And again, we saw the value in it. And so as I'm recruiting families who all they kind of know is, okay, you get to 9th grade and you go, Catholic school or a private school, but days, the Belmont Hills or St. Seb's of the world, or the boarding schools, Avons and those. And I was saying, okay, like you have that option, but we have this over here, which is 65 games, and it's 3 practices a week, and it's full season development. And so we saw the value, and we won a lot of those battles. And a lot of people hated us early on because they thought we were, again, they think we're stealing players. And my kind of stock answer is, owning people that was outlawed in 1865.
Right.
Like, we don't own these players.
Right.
Okay. If we do a good job, they'll stay with us. And if we don't do a good job, they'll go find another place to play.
Right.
But the kind of narrative was, these junior teams, they're stealing all our players.
Well, and the Lawrences and the St. Sebs, they can't pivot on a dime to a different offering.
Yeah,
they're in the league they're in.
Yeah, it's just
it's a little bit of like, I wish I had that, but I can't offer it.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, it's different.
Right?
It's straight up different.
And we won a ton of those recruiting battles. I mean, if you don't think that Jack Eichel had every prep school begging him to come play for them, but again, we won that battle, and there's other ones that we lost, right? And there's other ones we lost. And so what we saw over time is just that perception of matching really high level academics and really high level athletics, and hockey, in our case hockey. That's what the marketplace wants. That's what they want. And so this is going back 8 or 9 years ago. We started hearing about these hockey academies in Minnesota. Okay. And you'd have these kids who are, I'm just going to use AAA, AA, and single A because that's probably easiest for everyone to understand. In Minnesota, let's use Edina, Minnesota as an example, right? And on the squirt team, or the Pee Wee team, you'd have this AA player, right? So a second level kid. And then he starts going to this hockey academy where he's skating 2 hours a day or an hour and a half a day, 5 days a week or 4 days a week for an entire school year. And the kid who was on the AA team and like an okay player, the next year he's on the A team. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, wow, that kid's really improved. He's on the A team now. And then the next year, after 2 years of that heavy development and all those extra hours
reps
on the ice and reps, not only is he on the A team, he's like one of the best kids on the A team. Okay? And so we started hearing about these academies, and we looked and said, we should do one. Yeah. Okay? We can kind of read the tea leaves a little bit. If we can match full season hockey development, but also offer a really high level of education and kind of matching what these traditional New England private schools, Catholic or prep schools can do. I think we have something that maybe isn't offered. And at the time, there weren't really any academies in New England.
No, yeah.
There were some that were like, they'd call them academies, but it's like 10 kids that go to school in a rink and skate.
Right.
An hour and
The
20
only
minutes
thing
a
I had
day.
ever heard of until Masters, to be honest with you, was ski academies.
Yeah, ski.
That was all I had heard of.
Yeah. Now, we knew about, when we started kind of going down, we knew about IMG, which is
Right.
down in Bradenton, Florida. And so we said, okay, they have 1,200 students.
And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but like soccer, football is what they crush at, or no?
No,
It's everything.
They have, so it started as Nick Bollettieri's tennis academy.
Okay, that's
So it
right.
started as tennis,
Yeah.
and then they added golf.
Yeah.
And at the time, those kids, to me, is a really interesting story. So those kids that went to IMG Academy either went to, maybe I get this wrong, Bradenton High School, and I think there was a Catholic school or a private school, right? So IMG Academy would not deliver the academics.
Just the sports.
Just the sports.
Okay.
Right? Now, again, it's 3-4 hours a day of tennis or golf training, and then trying to match that with the public school or the Catholic school. It's a little tough because they're athletes. They go on the road for a
Scheduling.
turn. It's hard. And so this guy named Rich Odell, who was running a school in Michigan called Interlochen, a fine arts school, goes down to IMG. And he's looking around, and he says to Mark McCormick, who famously started IMG. He was Arnold Palmer's agent, that famous handshake deal, no contracts. He's the founder of IMG. And Rich said, he goes, you guys should really have your own school. And he says, oh, we don't want to be in the school business. So Rich said, well, how would I start the school? And he goes, go ahead. So Rich starts the school at IMG, and obviously goes from 0 students. And again, maybe I get this a little wrong, but I know I'm close. 0 students to, 12 or 15 students year one in a condo in right outside campus, to 48 students to 100 to 200, and it grows. And then Mark McCormick comes to him and says, hey, guess what, Rich? We want to be in the school business. And Rich says, okay, so Rich sold him the school business. And then Rich took over growing IMG, now I'll call it academy, but school and sports. And he grew it to 1,200 students.
Wow.
And he left, I think, in 2015, but oversaw their $165 million build out. And the place is unbelievably impressive. If you haven't been there or you've never been down there, it's very impressive. And they have soccer, golf, tennis, football, baseball, lacrosse. I'm sure there's a bunch of sports I'm leaving out. Yeah. And again, okay, it's probably a little long, 2018-19, IMG sold for $1.3 billion. It was a private high school.
Wow.
Sold for over $1 billion. But again, parents, I think, saw the value in all that additional training.
Yeah.
And it's not, I think, not just the training, but also it's also there's the educational side of it.
Right.
Right. And my kid's going to go there. They're great dorms. It's safe. It's structured. They can. It's a one-stop
and
shop.
Before that, if your kid was an excellent athlete, school had to take a back seat.
Yeah.
Because to your point, you couldn't logistically schedule it with it.
Yeah.
Right. Leaving for tournaments.
Yeah. That part's hard. If you're at private school XYZ.
Yeah.
Again, let's take hockey as an example. Okay. If your kid's at private school XYZ in the fall, he probably has to play another sport, so he'll play for a split season midget team. Now, I'm not speaking out of school because we have these and we've had them forever. They're a good fall option, but it's not great development because again, these split season teams, you have kids at this high school, 4 at this high school, 4 at that, and they all have different rules. This, closed campus. These are boarders. These are day students. Guys, we'd like to get together on a Wednesday night for practice. And again, I've been there. I was on the ice with them. Like there'd be 10 kids one Wednesday night. There's 12 the next. There's 8. It's hard. And I used to joke like you could have our split season teams are called the Little Bruins. And you could ask a kid on the bench wearing a Little Bruins jersey and say, hey, who do you play for? And he'd be like, oh, Belmont Hill.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Right.
It's just who they
Right.
associate with. So even the fall option, to me, isn't great.
Right.
So you're now down to a 3-month season, and you're just not getting the ice time. And these are kids, they want to be college hockey players or pros. Like they're
Yeah.
really driven. That's where their passion is. So again, it's getting back to why at these critical, ages and levels and stages of development are we knocking back the development from full season to split season. Now again, you look at all around the rest of the hockey playing world, and even USA Hockey does this big study in their ADM, the American Development Model. They lay out, here's what you should do at mites or at peewees, and at high school it's midget and junior. It's full season, and so that's what we were doing. But again, getting back to your point, like these families want to be able to have a great academic component and really strong sports or hockey development.
Right.
And that's what IMG can deliver. And now so again, 8 years ago, we say, okay, let's start going down this road. If we had known it would be 8 years and a million people telling us no, and stops and starts, and like literal sleepless nights, financial commitment and risk that both my brother and I took, and then as we started to get some pre-development investors, and then the pressure of making sure that their money is safe, and all that pre-development money, it's all at risk. Now again, these are all sophisticated investors who understand that if the academy doesn't happen, like that money's just gone.
Right.
But that's a lot of pressure because a lot of that money is from friends, some of whom we play golf with, right? And then some other people that we've gotten to know over the years, and it's significant amounts of money being put into this dream.
Right.
And so we figured, okay, Peter and I, we don't know how to run a school.
Right.
So we say, all right, well, IMG, that's what we'd like.
Yeah.
So my brother found Rich Odell.
Wow.
And then Rich Odell introduced Ted Meekma, who helped build the tennis. He was one of Nick Bollettieri's first instructors, and then Ted helped run kind of the academy side of IMG. Rich was the academic side. And I said, okay, so we got kind of school and academy kind of consultants. Now, they're consultants at this point, and they're expensive. They're the leaders in what they do. And we said, well, we don't have any money.
Right.
So we don't have any money for you. But if you want to work at risk, if we get funded, you'll get paid.
Yeah.
Just keep track. And we all thought, a year, 18 months, we'll get funded. And 8 years later, it's when that happened. So Rich Odell probably came on board year 2 or 3 into it.
Wow.
So we worked for 4 or 5 years at risk. And we found an owner's project manager, Enzo Scalora, with his company. And so he worked at risk. And we had architects working at risk, construction companies, GCs working at risk. Luckily, my brother's wife, Amy, is a CPA. She works for HarborVest. She's super bright, and she helped with our model and just hundreds of hours because we had to constantly redo the model. Because during these 8 years, we were going to put it next to the New England Sports Center.
Yep.
We tried to buy the International golf course when it went into bankruptcy and put the academy there. We were going to partner with another private school in Marlborough. We were looking at, there were some colleges going out of business and maybe trying to buy their property. So it had a lot of, there was a lot of different locations and iterations. And during this whole time, we had some very smart people say, you're kind of thinking too big. Like, just do a hockey academy. Like, just build a little building next to the sports center, have 2 teams, prove the concept, then add the other sports. And, I don't know, maybe stupidly, we said, our vision is much grander. Like, we really want to go for it. And what we want to be able to do is offer, kind of in New England, or located in New England, but obviously would take kids from all over the U.S., Canada, internationally. We want to offer high-level academics, at least matching serve with traditional prep schools, but also with the athletic and the development side that an IMG offers. So at Masters Academy, much like IMG, you get 4 hours a day of athletic training. Now, it's not always on the ice or the court,
right?
It's weightlifting, or it's skill development, leadership training. But there's a lot of, it's 720 hours per school year. Okay, of additional of sport-specific training within the school day. Okay, now that doesn't include your games, right? So for our academy teams, that number is even higher. Now, when you look at, again, I'll use hockey. Most of the top youth teams have a couple practices a week and maybe a skill session, right? So it's maybe 3. Let's say these teams have hour and 20-minute practices, which most don't. But let's just say they do. Okay, let's give them an hour and a half. So that's 3 hours of practice a week plus a skill session. There's 4 hours. A couple games on the weekend. That's 6 hours. Okay, so 6 hours times whatever the season. It doesn't compare to what our kids will get at Masters Academy.
Not even close.
Not even close. Now, like compounding interest and how effective that is. Now let's do that. Okay, let's do 2 or 3 years of it. Let's do 4 years of it. Okay, now you're talking over your high school career. It's like 2,800 hours. How much better are you going to get? I think back, if I had gotten 2,800 extra hours of development in high school. Now, I went to BC. It's my dream school. I guess I'm going to say, hey, it worked out for you, but maybe it would have worked out better. Maybe I would have been a better player, or maybe I would have developed to the point that maybe I could have made it further as a pro.
I mean, there's no anyone who played any sort of moderately high level athletics knows. Nothing replaces the reps. You just can't. You can never do enough.
And you can never do enough. And so as we're kind of going through this, the MAI story is again, it's because I'm involved in it and I've seen it close up. And my brother was the lead on this, and I've said to people he was an unrelenting, unstoppable force in making this happen. It's kind of amazing. Again, I'm kind of tooting our own horn here, and Peter's in particular, that we convinced a bank and our partners in London to think enough of the idea and the team that we put together to invest $83 million.
Yeah, it's impressive.
And so we're going to open in September of 2026. September 15th will be our first day of school, and we'll have middle school and high school and post-grads, and we're going to have 7 or 8 sports to start. And what's kind of got me most excited, the athletic side to me is the easy part for people who are interested in our school to understand. To me, the exciting part is the academic side. Our curriculum and the delivery, I think, is going to blow parents away. I met with our head of school, our kind of school leadership team about 10 days ago, and they kind of showed my brother and I our playbook. Rich Odell, who again has been key in all this. He's going to be our academy director. So he's hiring all of our teachers. He hired our head of school, admissions, curriculum director, and everything that goes on the school side of it. He's the leader there. And so they showed us the playbook, which they've been working on for a few months. And I just looked at Peter and I go, I'm blown away by it. I think parents, when they see the academic, not just the curriculum, but the delivery and the methodology, is going to be something that maybe one of one in the country.
That's awesome.
And where it kind of spreads fast. We were just in Austin for my buddy Andy's 50th birthday celebration this past weekend, and coincidentally, the largest private school admissions conference was in Austin. And somehow someone knew about it at the conference and got connected with Peter, and my brother left. We were at the Fairmont at the pool for the day, and he left to go meet someone from an existing private school who wants to come over and join us.
I gotta think nothing. I love Florida, but I got to think that Masters Academy, I'm in the business of hiring people. You got a pretty good talent pool trying to start an academic side in Massachusetts.
I think, again, we don't really look at IMG as our
competitor. I agree.
I think what
they prove the model.
Yeah. And what we look at as our competition, are all the New England prep schools,
Right.
More than IMG.
That checks out, though.
Yeah, and I think that what we have. Let's just use IMG as a comparison. I think what we have on IMG is location. Right, we're in Stow, Massachusetts. It's 40 miles from Boston. Direct flights from everywhere in Europe, in the U.S., the Middle East, Asia.
Right.
You have
the greatest
BC,
institutions
Harvard.
in the
You have
world.
all the greatest schools within an hour's drive.
Right.
You have a kind of player pool or a teacher pool of talent
That's insane.
That's already living here. Again, it's been really encouraging as we made the kind of formal announcement that we're opening, the interest that we've had.
Yeah, I still haven't got my discount code in the mail yet, but yeah.
Keep looking for it.
I bet.
We have
you got some people to pay back.
Yeah, we have $83 million to pay back. So
and Boston, although we're biased, and I'm certainly biased because I love living here, but Boston also helps because you got a major city that's not overwhelming.
Yeah. Again,
Like
Boston,
if you're coming from afar.
Yeah, to me, Boston's a small, big city.
It is.
I found out this weekend that Austin and Boston, one of those two, probably will be Austin, will be the 11th city to reach 1 million people next. There's 10 in the U.S. that have a population of more than 1 million.
Yeah.
Now, I know greater Boston, I think, 3 million.
We
or
don't,
4
right? We have
million.
600. Is it more?
No, I think it's somewhere in the 900,000.
Oh, we're up there.
But
Okay.
like Boston, the city of Boston, Austin's like 970 or something like that. So,
Okay. Interesting.
but I still think
it's tiny.
it's a small, big city.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that intimacy's great. We've had a handful of the top. We also have all the top hospitals are here, and we've had a handful of those hospitals reach out to us to put a location on site.
Right.
IMG has Johns Hopkins on site. Now, again, a parent, you're sending your kid away to school. Wouldn't it be nice if you had, I won't name any of the hospitals because we haven't decided on a partner, but if you have a big-time Boston hospital on campus where your kid, if he gets injured or he's just sick, right? You don't have to go get him to the closest hospital or send him to the nurse's office.
Right.
We have some of the best hospitals and doctors in the world that we think will end up on campus. We're in discussions with some top companies. We're going to offer, I think, a robotics program. So there's a lot of tech companies that we also plan to have non-playing majors. So at Masters Academy, we'll call all of our sports majors. So it's hockey, baseball, basketball. But we also may have non-playing majors. So you may be a kid who really wants to go into sports law or sports broadcasting. And so probably not in year one, but it's kind of in our plans to offer non-playing majors.
Very
a kid,
cool.
again, whose passion
Yeah.
his passion may be baseball, but he realizes I'm just not good enough. But I like to play it, and he could play at Masters Academy. But maybe his real passion is I want to be a broadcaster, or I want to work on the production side. So we'll be able to, I think, offer those non-playing majors. And like our middle school kids, we're going to be club friendly. So if you have a middle school aged kid and maybe their passion is soccer, okay, and you play for FC Stars or NEFC, and you go to Hopkinton Middle School, you may say, hey, I'm kind of interested in MAI because now our middle school kids won't do 4 hours a day based on their age, but it might be 2.5 hours. So again, now you're looking at 10 to 12 hours of sports-specific training per week. And but we won't have academy teams for middle school kids. So our middle school kids, they'll come to MAI, they'll get educated, they'll get their sports-specific training within the school day, and then end of the school day, they'll go
Play their normal stuff.
Go play for their club sport. So the club teams, we think, will be supportive of that. And as we're talking to a lot of these club teams, that they are very supportive of it. Is that okay? So
their talent's going to get better.
Yeah, their talent's going to get better, right? Yeah. So and we are fully supportive of making sure those kids go back to their club teams. And obviously at high school, we will have academy teams, but that's no different than the current model.
Going to high school.
Yeah, going to whether you play for your Hopkinton High School or private school XYZ, or going off to an academy.
Right.
Maybe going to IMG. So we're going to be very supportive of all the club programs because the Junior Bruins are a club program. So we recognize, the importance of these club programs and working with them and with their coaches and with their directors.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know I could talk to you for hours about this, but I am interested on the academic side. One question I wanted to ask you was, how has your experience of participating in our town's school committee changed your perspective on the educational academic offering at the academy?
I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously two very different models, right?
So different,
a for-profit private school sports academy versus the public funded, and all that goes into the district plans.
The bureaucracy.
The bureaucracy. Again, I've learned a lot, and first of all, the public school system in Massachusetts is among the highest rated in the country, and then even a narrower focus or spotlight on Hopkinton, it's second ranked or first ranked. I'd say let's just say worst case, it's a top 5 district, right? Worst case or top 10. So we have a really incredible school district, and one of the things that I've learned is that. And that, again, working in the private sector world, that I look at is that return on investment. And the thing that I think, one of the things Hopkinton, the school system and the district should be most proud of is the per student, the cost per student. I think it's $16,000 and change, which is an incredible return on investment. When you look at, there's, 10 or 12 other towns that we compare ourselves to socioeconomically, geographically, and we're the lowest.
Yeah.
And some towns, I think Wayland's $27,000 per student. Wow. I mean, that's a huge delta between 26 and 16. And at one of the school committee meetings, I'm like, this is incredible. Everyone take a bow. Superintendent, the teachers, the administration, school committee that was there before me, this is incredible. And I think it's something we should really be proud of as a town. And it's one of the things that I think, being on the school committee, I look and say, okay, obviously just spending money does not translate into good results. Right. It's spending money smartly. So we're obviously spending money very smartly. We're putting the emphasis, and again, I like making sure the dollars are kind of student-facing.
Yes.
And so as that relates to the academy, as we're figuring out, again, budgeting and teachers and classroom sizes. There's some things I've learned from the school committee and that I've been able to speak to with a little more authority in talking to Rich O'Dell, who's been in the academic world his whole career and is the leader in the country at what he does. And now as I'm getting to meet our head of school and some of the other academic leadership team and saying, okay, well, what about X, Y, or Z? What about these things? Because I know from the school committee and getting a much kind of broader look, because I think most parents in any town, it's hey, it's my kid.
Yeah.
What's my the teacher or the classroom that my kid or kids are in? That's where that focus is, and which that would be mine. It's mine as a parent as well. But now when you can look a little more broadly and say, okay, we have high performing students, we have middle of the road students, and then we have some students that have some special challenges or developmental issues, and we need to service everyone. We need to service everyone. So at MAI, like any even private school, there's going to be, even within a private school, which is pretty selective of who they accept based on their admissions and test scores and recommendations, where there's still
a degree of
okay, we have some super high performing kids, and then when there's some kids who are doing a great job, and then even at some private school, there's probably some kids who struggle a little bit, and all right, we need to make sure we're taking care of all of those kids. And I think one of the things that's talked quite a bit about at school committee meetings is really educating and figuring a way to take care of the whole person. And there's a life skills component at Masters Academy that I think is going to be one of the things that elevates us and differentiates us between a lot of other schools, public and private.
I mean, it's the thing that's missing the most from our educational system today.
And I think, again, Hopkinton does a really good job at recognizing that.
Yeah.
But again, within a public school system, you are handcuffed a bit, just based on budget, school size, and if you have 2,500 first graders that live in the town, well, you have to find a spot for all 2,500 kids. Now, that's an exaggerated number, but
it's a challenge.
Yeah, but it's a real challenge, and that's something different that we won't face at MAI, which is, we're not going to be able to take every kid that wants to come, and even if we did, we would have kind of the space, but at some point we just don't have enough room. We don't have enough room. There's only, we're going to open with 197 beds. So we can take 197 boarders, and that's in phase one. And again, MAI is kind of we bought a former Bose campus in Stow, and it's 320,000 square foot building. It's east wing, west wing, and we're developing the west wing for opening of school, and then we're kind of going to mothball the east wing until we scale and grow. And then we'll renovate that and then can scale up to a larger number of students we can take. But there's a lot. I think the timing was a little serendipity in that when I ran for the Hopkins School Committee, that was, let's see, this is 25, so 24. So that would have been kind of late 23. I decided to run, and the election was May of 24. So in late 23, we hadn't even found
a place.
We hadn't found. Well, we sort of had a place because we had.
International.
Yeah, no. In 2021, we had signed a purchase and sale with Bose to buy the property. And then it's a very long story. I can't tell here, but it's just too long. But we walked from it.
Yeah.
Variety of reasons, and then 3 years later, we came back and bought it. So while we knew about Bose in 2021, and when I remember my brother got a call from our broker and said, "Hey, why don't you come over and take a look at this Bose campus? They're probably going to shut it down and they want to sell it." Peter got on campus. Perfect. He goes, "This is exactly what we want. This will be perfect." And then how we ended up getting it is kind of a crazy story. When it came back on the market, there's a guy named Cliff Shore, who's a fascinating guy. If your podcast listeners want to read about a really fascinating guy, Cliff Shore, he owns a bunch of dominoes. He's one of the leading art aficionados in the country. I think he owns the largest private art gallery maybe in the world. He's a liquidator. Peter met him in 2021. Originally, and then he helped invest in buying the property, along with a couple other key investors. So that would have been, I'm getting all these dates a little. I think there was the spring of 24. We closed on the property. I'm getting that wrong.
Hold on. So these initial renovations will be done for September.
done for September.
And then when do you plan on like?
Yeah, the East Wing. I mean, I guess it depends on enrollment.
How well it goes.
Yeah, how well it goes. We can continue to scale up based on just the West Wing, that renovation. So, we're renovating all the fields. There's turf fields. We're building a basketball pavilion.
Will you build a rink?
We'd love to, When the time's right, there's space on the property to build a 2-sheet ring. But right now,
feels like there should be a rink there eventually.
Yeah. Rinks are expensive, and what's great about the New England Sports Center is that it's a probably 12 to 15 minute ride from campus to the rink.
Not used during the day.
The Sports Center's perfect. It's right down the street. It's big. It's beautiful. That's where our Junior Bruins offices are.
Yes.
And again, it's a 10 to 12 minute bus ride. So
that's perfect.
Just about all of our sports, all of our students will train on campus except hockey. The basketball pavilion may not be ready for the opening of day one of school might be December, January. So maybe our basketball players may have to be off site for a few months, but that's not a big deal. And it's a long 8 years to get to opening.
Very cool.
And during that time, when we found Cognita, who's a London-based company, they have over 100 schools worldwide. They educate over 110,000 students a day. They're an incredible company, incredible group of people. They're our kind of lead investors and partners. And again, as all of this has happened, and a couple other times we thought we had some investors lined up, and we said, oh, this would be a great group. And as everything's kind of twisted and turned, landing at Bose, not doing it next to the rink or at the International or a couple of the other sites, prior investors and prior potential partners who may have been great. Like, we just landed at the perfect location with the perfect partners, the best leadership group. And then USA Fencing is moving their national headquarters and training to our campus. So
I found that so interesting in the article in the Globe.
Yeah, we'll be the only high school, I think, in the world, but I'm told with certainty in the U.S. and Canada that has the Olympic rings on campus and an Olympic governing body and their training facility on campus. So I'm learning a lot about fencing and so we'll, again, we originally weren't going to offer fencing as one of our sports or majors, but we'll now offer fencing. So day one, hopefully my brother will be upset if I get this wrong. So hockey, baseball, basketball, lacrosse, golf, fencing. Did I say soccer? E-gaming, so esports. I'm missing one.
You said basketball.
Basketball. Maybe I'm missing.
Yeah,
one,
that's right.
We'll
add it.
Yeah. You can post.
Peter, don't get mad.
Yeah, don't. We'll add that. We'll add that in post,
I-
or whoever our director is in that sport. Like, hey, what?
I met you into the journey because I think we've known each other for six-ish years.
Yeah.
Or so, but incredible stuff, man.
Yeah.
Congrats. And
Yeah,
I know
thanks,
it's wild
yeah.
for you because the work is actually just starting.
Yeah.
Even though you just did 8 years of it.
Yeah. Someone asked, is this the exciting part now, or is this like, oh my God, now you have to actually go deliver it and build it? And the last, not the whole 8 years, but I'd say the last, probably since 2020, 21, and then really accelerated the last 2 years. It's kind of been horrible.
Yeah.
And again, my brother felt the stress way more than I did. Incredibly stressful. I mean, nights waking up. And again, you have, in some cases, tens of thousands, in other cases, hundreds of thousands of your friends' money at risk. My brother and I had a significant investment that if this didn't happen, we would have owed people hundreds of thousands of lawyers and just a huge amount of money that we would have owed and money we didn't have and where we would have got that. But, again, getting back to my dad and some of those lessons that we learned from him, is like, hey, you got to just bet on yourself. Right? Just bet on yourself, take the risk. And, that's kind of, we get that kind of entrepreneurial spirit from the old man. And again, he didn't have much of a formal education, incredibly hard worker, great street smarts, incredible salesman. And a lot of that, he either instilled in us or it's in our wiring. And at one point, 4 or 5 years ago, my brother and I just said, fuck it.
Let's do it.
We're going to do it.
Yep. All the chips in.
We're going to do it. And we had a lot of people, again, very smart, and other people very close to us. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? You have a successful business.
Right.
Which we do. That I said I can kind of do what I'm doing for the next 20 years and be comfortable, and I like it. There's certain things I love about it. Some things, like any job, I don't like about it, but I genuinely love what I do. It's not digging ditches. And but we just had this grand vision and said, let's do it. Let's do it. And we had so my brother had some people out to the school. I can't kind of say who it is, but some very successful people in one of the sports that may have a relationship with us in one of the sports, and this guy was on the board of Company X, and he's a real successful car dealer out in the West Coast. And he's looking at the whole thing, the building and the plan, and there's the plans on all the boards, and he's going through the whole story. And he said to my brother, Jesus Christ, the fucking ball's on you.
Right?
And it was kind of a good, like, again, I give, Peter, most of the credit, but we just said, hey, let's just go for it.
Keep going.
Let's just go for it. And if we strike out, we strike out.
At least you tried.
Give it a shot, and
I feel like though the way it happened over the last 8 years, like, and I know you've shared some of the ups and downs the last 24 to 36 months, which have been more grueling than the previous. But like, I also feel like it's kind of good to go through that fire to get it launched, because then the details seem
Well, the satisfaction. Oh, so sorry. Let me get back. So the satisfaction, I think, is heightened.
Yes,
and now. To me, this is incredibly exciting. So someone had asked, "Oh, is this? Are you more nervous now? Is there more stress now?" This is
the fun part.
To me, this is the fun part. Now, there's a certain level of pressure. Like, we need to get 250 students on campus, next fall. But to me, this is incredibly exciting. Hockey gave me everything. Right? Gave me so much, and the experience. High school was great. College was great, and post-college, and those relationships and the lessons you learn, and everything that hockey gave me. Again, I look at what I think we're going to be able to do at MAI, and the opportunities that we're going to give these kids and these athletes who are, in a lot of cases, singularly focused when they get to kind of middle school and high school. Like, I always played baseball, and again, I was a pretty good baseball player, and made the varsity as a freshman at my high school, and was the backup catcher. And halfway through that spring season, it just hit me like, I want to go all in on hockey.
Yeah.
And I know I need to do some extras and try and find more to do. And so I stopped playing baseball. And again, that singular focus, and I think for a lot of the kids that'll come to Masters Academy, maybe not the middle school, and again, kids can do multiple sports. Like, someone may be, my brother's kids, the two boys, hockey, football, hockey, lacrosse, and you may want to do, all right, I want to do 4 months of hockey and 3 months of lacrosse, or 2 days a week of lacrosse and 3 days a week of hockey. And kids with it's not just for kids that play a singular sport, but I think these kids are so singularly focused on being the best lacrosse player, soccer player, and when you now surround them with
an environment
of a whole school that has that kind of singular focus, I can only imagine how that will push each other, not just kids on your team, because again, in high school, I went to Mattnon. It was kind of a hockey school, and these kids all were pretty focused on it, but some kids didn't have the drive that me and a few other kids had.
Right.
They liked it, and they played it, and I know that I've heard from other families that have kids at prep school, like, there's might be 4, 5, 6 kids on their hockey team that they're lacrosse players, right? And that's where their focus is. But now, if you have at Masters Academy, you have kids who are so singularly focused and kind of iron sharpening iron, and then you also collectively have a school, where you have that mentality of, hey, we're here for business.
Which previously really wasn't an opportunity for kids until you got to college. Because at college, then you get it.
Right.
And when you play college sports, you realize that, like, I'm getting value in my athletics when I'm not on the field, but I'm still with my teammates. And now you're going to get that in high school.
Now you're going to get that high school and
really cool.
even middle school.
And even
for our middle school students. So it's been...
Dude, congrats.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Congrats. You're going to have to come on in a little while and give an update of how it's all going. But
I'd be happy to do it. It's been...
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, the hockey part and the Junior Bruins part. And, we created a bunch of other businesses within hockey. And it's all kind of led to this
this.
next chapter, and we're still going to keep all the hockey stuff going, and the Junior Bruins will remain. But now we have this other thing
New
that
focus.
new focus that we're pretty excited about.
Sick.
Yep.
Well, hey, thanks again for coming
Aggo.
on, man. And where can people find Masters Academy other than the news? I've seen it. But
mastersacademyinternational.com. Yep. And then it's got links to all our social media, and you'll see a lot getting ramped up. Admissions opens October 1st. And you'll see stuff really start to get accelerated as we start to announce our coaches and directors. Some of them we can't announce because they're at other jobs right now. But as we get into the fall, we'll start to announce, and some of them will roll out.
Yeah.
You know, they are public, but exciting stuff. The Masters Academy Mavericks. Let's do it.
Mavericks. I'd love to. I'd love to help you spread the word.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you bringing me on. This has been great. A lot of fun.
100%. Thanks a lot.
Cool, man.
See you soon.
All right.
Peace.